If you would,
We're recording.
okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody. Today is the 29th of July for our regular piping and plumbing meeting for the state of Connecticut Department of Consumer Protection. I would like to take a moment right now to have a moment of silence for Larry Valerie's wife, Sandy, who passed away last week. He's the chairman of the electrical board. So if we could have a moment of silence for him, for her. Okay, thank you very much. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes from April?
So
Make that
moved.
motion.
A motion, a second to approve the minutes. Is there any discussion? If not,
Second motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So approved. And can I have a motion of the minutes from the May 19th meeting to accept as presented?
Motion accept May 19th meeting minutes?
Second.
Motion and a second for the May 19th minutes. Any discussion? Hearing none, call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. Motion's passed. Okay, we'll go to the DCP investigations complaint status. Everybody received a report from Janita's office. Has everybody had time to take a look at it?
Yeah.
Okay. Take a motion for that, to accept that report.
Make a motion. Make a motion to accept.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second to accept the report from the Investigations Division of the state. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Passed. Okay, now comments and concerns. If you'd like to bring those people in, Karen, we'll accept them at this point.
Okay, and just so that you know, Janita and Pam were not able to make it to the meeting today. They had another commitment, so they wanted me to pass that on to you.
Okay,
No
thank you.
worries.
Thank you very much.
And we do have Melissa. Can you hear us? She should be all set.
He's muted right now, I see.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Hi, Melissa.
Good morning, everyone. Sorry, I'm
Morning,
having
Melissa.
technical difficulties, but I'm on now.
Okay, great.
All right, so we have, as I said, the phone number. I'm going to see if we can figure out who that is. Hi, can you hear me? The phone number is 860-841-7350.
Hi, this is Betsy Garrett from the Connecticut Water Works Association. That's my phone number. I'm just listening in, no comment.
Good morning,
Okay.
Betsy.
Her
Morning,
name is
Betsy.
Morning.
Betsy.
Morning.
Okay, and then we have Gary Gothier here. Can you hear us, Gary?
I can. Good morning.
Good morning, Gary. Chris Bowman.
Hello, everybody. I just wanted to say good morning, everybody, and it's great to be here. I haven't been on a few months here, obviously, but I just wanted to give you a real brief report on what I've been doing, what I've been up to from the ICC's perspective. As I put on there, I don't know if you've read it or not. In the past couple of months, I've presented to the Connecticut Building Officials Association with the IMC, and obviously the significant changes from the 15 to 18 with the International Plumbing Code. I know there's some tradition and we're talking about the 21. So I just wanted to get everybody updated to the point of where we are now. I also just had the honor and pleasure to go to Local 777 yesterday, present to some of the students over there on methods of venting. And I do have another one scheduled for next month at Local 777 to, again, address the graduating classes coming up out of Connecticut. So I wanted to, say hello, good morning. Thanks for the opportunity to be here. And I am here for any capacity to help, with the transitioning, either through continuing education or providing as a resource to the plumbing board as usual. And again, thank you for having me.
Thank you for the update. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Gary.
Okay,
And
now,
Peter, we have Peter Kelly.
Okay,
Okay. Good morning, Peter.
Good morning, Peter Kelly with IATMO. I don't have any comments for anybody. Thank you.
okay, welcome. Okay, we'll go to old business. We received a report on the well drilling and geothermal regulations. Should be in our packet from Cynthia that they're working on it. She couldn't make it today, but they are sending it over to Department of Health for some comments, and hopefully by our next meeting, we'll be able to approve that. Aaron, have you seen anything on that?
Nothing other than what you saw. We have a couple of our members that are on the task force, and I know they're working on it. There was some more back and forth between the Water Well Association, DCP, and the health department. So it continues.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hopefully that can go to bed soon enough.
Yes.
Don't know. I think I was 10 years ago, I was president of the Water Well Association. That's when we started this. So what's the hurry?
We have, thank you for that report. Do we have any other stuff under old business?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay. How do we make out with that Delta Avenue in Old Lyme? Is that back between Department of Health and the Ledge Light Health District?
I got a call from the homeowner asking me to help him out with Ledge Light. I did not know that basically simultaneously Ledge Light had contacted Chuck. And we're trying to work some things out. And there were some conditions that we had, I believe we included in our approval, which were one of them was accurately locating the septic systems on adjacent properties. And that's what Ledge Light was, sticking to that. And then they had gotten into a whole bunch of septic stuff with the property owner on his own property over how his repair had been done. And I don't know how it settled out because I didn't talk to Chuck again after my conversation with homeowner.
Okay, so it's a work in progress.
Yeah, no well has been drilled. Nobody will approve the permit. My discussion with Chuck was, do we have the ability, because it doesn't sound like Ledge Light even signed this permit if the septics are all kosher. Do we have the ability to have an official and consumer protection sign the permit so the well can be drilled? And nobody could answer that question.
Okay. Very good. Thank you for that report, Aaron. Good morning, Mr. Osden. Good morning. Howard. Okay, under new business. We have some things. There's an application review working group. I believe you got some information on that. There was a review on out-of-state occupational trade licenses for determination of equivalency to Connecticut occupational trade licenses. At the April meeting, it was determined that the following license types are equivalent. Mass unlimited journeyman is the same as a Connecticut P2 unlimited journeyman, if I read that correctly. Anybody have any further comment on that?
So there was a working group that agreed or put this together?
I don't know. Is Richard Herbert, would you have an answer on that?
Yeah, once a month, each board gets together to review applications for the board chairperson Todd Birch from the Department of Labor, and right now, myself as a DCP representative, we review applications. So as we review applications and we find license types in other jurisdictions that are the same as ours, then we make a spread, we're making a spreadsheet and then seeing if the board will concur to do, so that people with that credential from that particular jurisdiction can always be approved for the type, our type that matches it.
Approved to sit for the
Okay.
test, correct?
I didn't realize that.
Thank you.
Approved to sit for a test. So we're making a master, Karen's making a master spreadsheet that eventually it would just streamline,
Right.
you know, getting these people approved. Because we don't want to approve one person with a credential from another jurisdiction and turn around a month later and deny another person from that jurisdiction with the same credential. You know, we're trying to be very consistent. So
Oh, you gotta be.
there's only a few that match so far. You know, the journeyman in Mass, and I believe the journeyman in Rhode Island probably will match for the P2, you know, so.
And Richard, how about reciprocating? Is Massachusetts doing the same thing for the Connecticut people?
Well, we're not reciprocating with them because we require them to take our examination. We have reciprocity language. We have reciprocity language in our licensing law, but it requires the other jurisdiction enter in with us so that our guys can get a license or our gals can get a license in another jurisdiction without examination. So we're not going that route. We're just going the route up. You have an equivalent experience and training required to get your plumbing license in another jurisdiction. Fine. We'll approve you automatically to sit for our license examination.
Okay.
So it kind of works out. It works out really good because if they're worth the salt, they'll pass our exam, and you know, they should be fine.
Okay.
It's almost a reciprocity. It's not. We still require an exam.
All right, very good. Thank you. And then we have the substitute bill number 6100, Public Act 2137, in review of the licensing and enforcement, antitrust issues about the use of marijuana and revisions to the Liquor Control Act. I don't know if that has anything to do with us.
Well, it's the other document, and it's being worked on. You have a one that says bill number 6100 email. And it's that PDF. And
Oh,
the language is being worked on right now to make changes to this, because it's passed by saying no contract to perform work is valid unless it's in writing, and you got to have license. You know, you got to name up front who the licensees are going to be and everything else. So we're working on it to make it less onerous.
Okay. Very good. Anybody have any comments on that to Richard?
Nope.
Thank you, Richard.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving along. Where'd I go here? I lost my spot. Okay, before you, we have a issue with the water companies doing work.
Chris, I'm sorry. I was on mute. I wanted to go back to Bill 6100.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So just a little clarification, like how's that going to happen with service calls, emergency calls? You know, how's that going to affect?
Well, that's what the document's labeled 6100 email is the one I created, and I
Yeah.
brought out all these problems in it. And
Yeah.
that's what the agency now, the legal division, and is going back and they're working on a process. They're working to amend the language and get it changed right away. This doesn't become effective until January of 22.
Yeah.
They're changing the language where it's only if you use a written contract, you got to have certain stuff.
Yeah.
And then we're going to do language for if you want to give someone an invoice after the work's been completed, what you need to have in an invoice, which is a list of persons who perform the work, you know, the contractor's license name, number, and
That's okay.
hours of
So-
labor and material used, et cetera. It will be on the invoice.
So
But
the
the
gentleman
way-
that preferred that, I'm sorry, Rich, the gentleman that performed the emergency service will be listed on that invoice with maybe his plumbing license number or heating
Correct,
license number,
correct.
whatever the
Yes,
case is.
that's what we, the first wording that's passed said, you can't even do any work unless it's in a written contract form, and you have to give
Yeah.
the people a 3-day right to cancel. So as you can see from my 6100 email document,
Yep.
California ran into the same problem years ago, and they had to change it if it needs to be immediately done.
Right.
But in lieu of even doing that, we just said, let's just say if you use a written contract, it must contain the following stuff. And,
Yep.
and if you're gonna invoice somebody after you did some work, then it's gotta contain certain elements. So it's
So
being
ba-
worked
yep.
on. They realized it was a total screw up, and Leslie O'Brien was livid, but whatever.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, if you have a written contract, that information will be there. But if you have an invoice, the same information will pertain on the invoice.
Correct. And if you want to go to one of your favorite customers because they're in their apartment in New York City, and you want to just do the work for them and say, send me a check for $50, you can still do that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so it's not, it'll be more open. It just says if you're going to give someone an invoice, it must contain certain elements. And if you're going to have a written contract, it must contain certain things. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you,
I
Rich.
think you're on the right page when we get it redrafted.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you for the update. Now, yesterday or the day before, the 28th, we received, after a discussion and commentary with the Well Water Association, which I believe is why Betsy is on and Cam is on here with us today, about unlicensed people doing meter replacements for the area water companies. And we've come up with a draft regulation and licensing. And we are asking you to review it. If you have any comments, we'll take the comments now. But we're probably going to have a special meeting. Well, we definitely going to have a special meeting next week, one afternoon, as soon as Karen gets us a date and a time. She's pretty sure most of the mornings are filled up, so it'll probably be like a 1 o'clock meeting to vote on this regulation and this proposal presented before us. It's something that we worked out over the last 4 or 5 days, discussing this with different people. So I will open it up for your discussions or your comments or what have you.
What is the document you're referring to?
The one that you sent us, Richard, on
Oh,
the
Yeah,
on
just to
the
clarify,
water meters.
yeah, just to clarify, either you agree to have an exemption in the licensing law that the persons who change a water meter while they're directly employed or a contractor for a water company is exempt. And then it was indicated that possibly maybe there's a way to do a limited license type, which is what I drafted yesterday or the day before to show you what it could be if you created a limited license type. And what I created was about the loose as I can make it, the easy as I can make it to have these people credentialed, if that's the route that ends up going. I mean, the other route is to do a full apprenticeship program. I don't know what that would be involved, et cetera. So this is just take a course to show you're competent, have some, during that course, you have to have some, what do you call it, practical experience within that course. You know, this is just a rough draft because I was informed that people were thinking about, well, what about limited license, which is similar to what we did years and years ago at Millstone Nuclear Plant for the valve technicians. Because they were, you know, specialty people that went all over the world and, you know, they came from all different companies, et cetera. But This is just one way to go by doing it through the regulation process, is to create a limited license rather than go before the legislature and either exempt the work entirely from the licensing law or create some other credential, which you could still do. So it's just one of the options.
Okay, no, I think what was discussed was a limited license. They would take a minor course and take a test of 25 to 40 questions. If they pass it, then they would get this limited license, if I remember correctly from the other day. But
And
I'll,
where did that take place, Chris?
there was a Zoom meeting. I believe it was Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I
Yes,
wasn't
it
part
was.
of that. I just heard
Right.
a limited license. It was one consideration that board members or persons in the industry thought might work. So I just took it upon myself to draft this. So
We appreciate it.
Yeah. So, hey, Rich, question, is there any license like this anywhere else in the country?
well, they do have up in Canada, they do have a water meter technician.
Okay.
And then maybe it's the American Water Well Association has courses for water meter technicians.
Yeah.
There is, if you just, there is stuff around. PSI, they checked all their states they do business in, and they said they don't have anything specific to
Right.
replacing water meters.
Right.
But that doesn't mean, it doesn't exist. But Canada was the one where I really found a actual water meter technician.
Where you could pull draw some information from. I also kind of equated it to almost, like the backflow preventer. I mean, but the backflow preventer license doesn't allow you to remove the backflow and change it. You're only allowed to test it.
Correct.
So this kind of falls under the same, same thing as a backflow. I mean, it's still breaching the system irregardless, right? So, I mean, a license would be kind of necessary to do it.
Well, that's the issue. Whenever and we had that, it sounds crazy, but the Roto-Rooter court case that we had, the judge said, no, if you're going to do drain cleaning, you could do it with your snake, but don't you dare pull that toilet.
That's
Or
right.
don't disassemble component parts of a system in order to clean the drain, because now, you got to have some competency there. So.
Right, you breach the system. I mean, I think it was stated in our meeting the other day, Roto-Rooter comes and does it. Well, it's not legal to do. I think someone was misunderstood that Roto-Rooter can do that. They cannot do that. They cannot remove a toilet, snake, a drain. That's illegal.
Right.
Just the same as someone right now going in and removing a meter and replacing it is illegal. Under Chapter 393, it's not legal.
Correct. It'll be next time there'll be the guy that wants to change his own valves in a heating system.
Right. Or I mean, the concern with us is that it just spirals, Today they call the meter an apparatus. Okay. Well, a faucet is an apparatus. An outside hose bib is an apparatus. It's not a direct distribution system, but it's a component, an apparatus. The hot water heater, it's an apparatus, but it becomes direct distribution. So you can't just say these little pieces. That's our concern is, and I know you understand that, Rich, but I want to express it again to maybe some of the public that are listening.
Right.
That's the issue.
So,
with it.
Or you could just say the only work that's exempted is under the direct control of a regional water company,
Yeah, and that's already an exemption, right, Rich? If you're a direct employee of the municipality water company, you're exempt from that You're exempt from that license status, right? So, I read yours, Rich, and one of my questions is, I don't know if this is the right time to discuss what we put in it, or but I think it needs to state in it any alteration that needs to be made to fit a new meter to an existing opening needs to be performed by a licensed plumber.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a rough draft.
Oh, I know.
So that's something the board would have to do, or your special group, whatever you're going to hold for a special meeting next week. we'll have to kind of flush out the language.
Yeah,
If that's the route you're going, the other thing that they tried to pass is, allowing the regional water authority to use contractors that they have direct control over, just to change out the meters.
get that to the end.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a comment.
Go ahead, Peter.
Understand, a lot of people have taken aware of Flint, Michigan, the Flint, Michigan situation, how precious potable water is. Having a different special license is better than nothing, better than two guys walking into a basement telling a homeowner, I've never done it before, I'll figure it out. It's just we're trying to reassure the public that we're doing it safely. Flint, Michigan is a big mistake. They made big mistakes out in Flint, Michigan, contaminated the whole town and more. I mean, it's a tragedy. It's a total tragedy. I don't think the state of Connecticut can afford a tragedy like that, just to save a few bucks in one town. And that's that I want to go on the record, please. This is the way I feel about this.
Yeah, I agree with you, Pete.
Thank you.
In the meeting, it was said directly, the only reason we don't want to use licensed people is cost, which I find appalling and disgusting.
I understand, Jay, and that's what they did in Michigan. Flint, Michigan.
Understood.
Was a cost
You're
factor
right, Pete.
too. All right.
Yep.
I've been
We
doing
don't
a lot
want
of
to use
reading about
licensed
Flint,
people.
Michigan. They don't want.
Money.
They wanted to save money. Okay.
Money over this, money
One
over
at
the
a time.
safety of people.
One at a time, please.
Sorry,
Thank you.
Chris.
Thank you.
Touchy subject.
I know. Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman, I do have a question.
Who is it? Aaron?
Hello.
Go ahead, Aaron.
We very often install meters on small non-transient water systems that we maintain. Some are on individual houses on their feed lines that are fed by wells. Maybe one well or a couple of wells serving several houses. There are all types and different styles of systems. I have non-community transient water systems that have meters as well. Is this going to apply to us? Because we do install our own meters as part of our pump installation and well installations. Is this something that I have to be concerned with?
I don't believe so, because your people are licensed under the J's and the W's. And maybe Richard could correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm not looking to go into the city of Norwalk and replace meters and pits for second district. but
No,
we
I
do,
understand
you
that,
know,
but maybe
Well,
Richard
I
could
guess
answer
it
the
would,
question.
yeah,
Go ahead,
the
Richard.
well driller is allowed to do the pump and associated piping work from the borehole to just inside the foundation wall. So if that's where the meter is going to be, then I think they would be legal to do a meter at that point. Or if they're going to a meter pit someplace, that's fine too. So I mean, you have to go
I'm
through.
not concerned. I'm not concerned with the W's having the ability. I'm concerned that the J's are and the water system, a smaller system operator are.
Okay, thank you. We'll discuss that further. Good morning, Mike, and good morning, Leslie. I think I saw Leslie on.
Yep, Chris, if I may, sorry I'm late. I
Okay,
had
go ahead, Mike.
I had a physical this morning and it lasted a little longer than I wanted. So
Okay, go ahead.
I've been a part of these meetings myself, Cammie and Jay. And basically myself and Cammie and Jay, what we told Senator Duff, our responsibility on the boards is to try to protect the consumer, right? And I get it that the water companies, if they're an employee, they get the exemption. I'm totally against the outside contractor coming in the governor's office, giving them an exemption for the following reason. And it's not a foolproof system. At least if these individuals that are coming in from other states, if they have this limited water meter license, at least on their application, they're able to check that box, yes or no, if they've ever been arrested. God forbid if there's an exemption given, and we have somebody come into the state of Connecticut that's been a sexual predator and is now working in somebody's house and commits another crime. That's one of the things I'm concerned about. That is our responsibility, is to try to protect the consumer and do what's right for the industry, right? I have no really skin in the game with the water meters, but I feel that there should not be an exemption. I voiced my opinion to the lieutenant governor. I'm pretty friendly with her. And I'll be really upset if the governor's office gives a full exemption. And I think what Richard had drafted up with the language with the water meter license, I think that's the way to go. Cammie, myself, and Rich Herbert, we were involved with the valve license back in the 90s when we had NNI come in from Virginia to do a job at Millstone, and they were specifically working on valves, and we were able to get that done. Cam, if I'm not mistaken, I think we got everybody that worked with NNI a valve license within 4 to 6 weeks. I know they all took the test on a Saturday. Richard came up with the language and the test questions, and we were able to get that done pretty quickly.
Yes, I think, if I remember right, it was done within a month, but Richard, maybe you know more about it. Maybe you might have a better memory than I.
Yeah, well, the valve license was a little more involved because we did have an examination, etc. What I drafted is a certificate course. They have to prove they, had classroom instruction and some practical experience prior to sending them out, so this is a little bit easier in some sense. So PSI, or we won't be creating an exam for these people, but their scope of work, as you can see, is very limited. So, and what Chris had said earlier about making any alterations to existing piping of the system, maybe there's language has to be put in for that, that if it's not a direct replacement without changing the system associated piping, then it's not allowed under this credential. But
Richard, with that certificate, I hope that the state would ask the individuals whether they have been convicted or not. I think
that's a generic, that's language that goes on anybody that applies. So that'll be part of the application, the general requirements of an application.
Thank you, Richard. Any other questions or any other comments?
Hi, this is Leslie O'Brien. I just wanted to, I'm sorry I was late. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, Leslie.
Yes. Good morning, everyone. So I just wanted to say a couple of quick things. I mean, based on, and I didn't hear the entire, I was in a different meeting, so I'm sorry I'm late. But first, I just wanted to say the department, we are sort of, we haven't taken any kind of position on this. We're sort of waiting to see how this, where the agreements are with language. So I know Richard put this draft together. When Cammie and Mike asked him to, but we haven't heard anything official yet. We haven't been asked to participate in a meeting yet. When we do, and if what we're told is that this is what the agreement is, this lower level license, then we'll put this language out that Richard's drafted for everyone's consideration. But I just want to make it clear that the language that you're all looking at today is not language that we have been told everyone's in agreement about at this point. We're just trying to provide a starting point for everyone to try to come to some kind of agreement if it's possible.
Yes, Leslie, then what we're doing is, it's Chris Bowman, I'm sorry. What we're doing is we're discussing it today, and we're going to call a special meeting for next week to get you approved language that we would like to see move forward. So by some point next week, you will have something for your office to review.
Okay, but again, I don't know that whatever you submit to us language-wise will be language that everyone else, who's part of this group that met the other day, that did not involve us, that everyone will agree on. So, and I just want to make, so whatever you all submit to us may or may not be something that is agreed upon by those who are concerned about the licensing requirements.
Right. I
And
understand.
so I just, so I just wanted to make that clear. I also want to clarify for everyone, because Kimmy and I spoke about this the other day, that changing regulations can take as long, if not longer, than changing statutes. So this is not something that will resolve the issue in the short term for East Lyme or Norwalk. And so once once everybody is aware of that, that may continue to create an issue for legislators with towns that will be impacted by this, the current towns impacted and those moving forward. I would say, and I'm not defending them, I'm just sort of putting the facts out there. And the fact is that up until the East Lyme project was raised and we received the question about whether or not licensed plumbers needed to be installing the meters, replacing the meters and installing the new meters. I think a lot of municipalities were probably in violation of the law because there was a lot of misinformation out there that we had to, and so we had to go to, our sister agency and explain to them that the law required licenses to do this work, but they didn't know that. And so since 2009, there have been, I don't know how many projects, but probably many that were done the wrong way. And so the end result is that, well, this is one or two towns right now. It will likely impact, if it stays the way it is now, you will hear from more legislators. And this is not an issue that's just going to go away. I just want to make sure everyone realizes it's just one or two towns right now because they happen to be the towns in the works right now. But moving forward, now that we know there's been a misinterpretation of the law and we've clarified it with DPH for the person who manages the funding of these replacements, it will be an issue moving forward for more municipalities as well.
Yeah, we understood that, and we do understand that. And in the other meeting the other day, we basically had a consensus of everybody involved that there would probably be some type of limited license. And from what I gathered from everybody, it was probably, that was the right way to go because it moved everything forward. I think even the two senators were in agreement of that. And this is what we will have something for your office or through Chuck and through this department or this board, some point next week of we feel is appropriate to help move this forward so this doesn't happen in the future.
Right, but just to clarify, you'll send us language. We will then, I guess if you're sending, I guess we're the ones then sending it to the whole group that Cammie and you met with. I don't know, but the language needs to go back to the municipalities, and then I'm presuming, and then if everyone's in agreement, we will submit the language for a regulatory change. But that again will take it could take a year. So so in the meantime, these projects will be on hold.
Well, unfortunately, that's probably what will happen because
I'm sorry. I just want everyone to understand this is not this will take a while. So,
yes.
And I will be in the, for lack of a better way to describe it, but the other side, we have to tell them that as well.
Yes, and I think they understand that. But something that I brought up is, and I never got an answer, I think, except for one municipality or one water company, was before they put this out to bid, didn't they know about the state statutes and the regulations? And nobody ever answered that. So we're trying to put a packet together that's acceptable to everybody involved at this time to move it forward, to try to help them.
The answer is they didn't know. So just so you, I think that, I don't know if everyone knows this or not, but for the last, there was a letter. Does everybody know about the MDC letter? Was that discussed earlier?
Yes.
I brought it up, I think at one of the meetings we had, Betsy did, mention that the MDC had got something in 2009. Betsy, you can probably clarify that better than me.
So in 2009, when they were doing a project, and somebody there communicated with Richard. They had a back and forth email, and then they cherry picked pieces of what Richard told them, and did not actually follow what Richard told them. And they wrote a letter saying that Richard told them it was okay to do this without licensed plumbers, which is not what Richard told them in the email chain at all. So they just, took pieces of what he said instead of actually what he told them, and put that in a letter in 2009 that said that you could just have one licensed plumber oversee the project, and the installers didn't have to be licensed. And so they used that letter. They started sending that letter around to municipalities when there were questions. DPH had that letter. So so there was, and nobody checked with us, and no one sent us the letter. We weren't CC'd. Richard wasn't CC'd on the letter. It was it was really kind of unbelievable, but nobody ran any of this by us. And so that letter has been used throughout the last, 11 years as a basis for why licensed plumbers weren't needed. So
Just a case in point, East Lyme has no licensed plumber on staff, as far as I know.
what's that? I'm sorry.
Yeah, even if East Lyme was following the directive of this letter, as far as I know, East Lyme doesn't have a P1 on staff.
Well, right. Well, what happened was, when it comes to the East Lyme situation, and this is when we discovered the letter, what happened was we were asked, DCP was asked about the project when they brought the contractors in. We explained that, they needed a licensed plumber to do the work. They then got this letter and sent it to us and said, we will amend our contract with the contractor and have one licensed plumber at the job. Let us know if that satisfies the statutory requirements. To which we replied, no, it does not. But they used the letter from MDC as a basis for what they were going to do to revise their contract and have a licensed plumber on the job.
Yeah, no, I'm aware of all that, Leslie. But also at the beginning of this, if you go back to East Lyme to the meeting minutes, when they were proposing this project, they were going to, they noted in it that they needed to use local licensed people. So for the claim that they didn't know, I don't believe it, because if you go back to the meeting minutes of April 30th, 2019, it states clearly that they're aware of the law.
Well, that's fine. That's good to know. I didn't know that, but
I have it. I can send it to you.
That's fine in case we need it moving forward. But the point is that, we weren't aware of the MDC letter until this back and forth with East Lyme. And that was my point. I just wanted to make sure everyone understood that letter has been circulating in different municipalities as a legal justification for why licensed plumbers weren't needed, beyond having one, for all the installation. So I just wanted to make sure everyone knew about that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mike, hang on 1 minute, Mike.
Yep.
Cam, hang on 1 minute. Betsy, do you have anything to say, since you've been holding online or on the phone?
Can you hear me? There I am. Thank you. Yeah, I do want to say, this is the reason that this has been an issue that has been prompted is because the utilities are undertaking these projects that will be replacing all of the meters with what they call advanced meters or smart meters to help improve water efficiency. And typically, as a matter of routine business, they're not doing projects of this magnitude. So that's why I think this has come out. I think previous to this, it was MDC that had undertaken the project. I don't know that this is something that has happened all along or will happen, across the board for these utilities. It's a very expensive undertaking. And I do want to just comment on some of the issues raised regarding Flint, Michigan. Our water utilities, they do respect the integrity of licensing. They're required to have licensed water system operators, certified water system operators to maintain the system. They have to comply with tons of state and federal laws. And for years and years, we've worked shoulder to shoulder with the licensed trades to make sure that we were addressing things like backflow prevention, contamination issues. So I do want to get the record straight. We're not trying to circumvent anything. And, I think it was unfortunate that the representative from Norwalk mentioned that the main reason they were doing this was for cost. I think that was, not fair to the industry that he commented in that manner, because, we are under pressure to control water rates for our customers. And so that it is certainly always a consideration, but I don't believe, that at all that we want to circumvent the licensing laws. It was their interpretation and the industry's interpretation that this was not something that required a separate license. And so, that's kind of where we ended up. Clearly we've discussed this with the department. And just for your information, Leslie, I know this meeting that we had Tuesday with the plumbers and the Connecticut Water Works Association, we were directed by the governor's office to sit down with them initially and then follow up with the Departments of Consumer Protection and Public Health, and we're happy to do that. So I do appreciate that the plumbers have developed a proposal to address a limited license. I have not gotten a lot of feedback from my members on this at this point. I don't know how many are looking to do these types of projects in the future, but we'll certainly try to get some input in time for the next meeting. We're happy to sit down and discuss it with you. But again, I don't want to leave the impression that the water industry was trying to circumvent anything. I think we recognize the importance of ensuring that the public has high quality, safe, reliable drinking water. And again, we will work with you to make sure that that's the end result of this.
Thank you, Betsy. Mike Rosario.
Yeah, this is, I guess, for Leslie and Richard Herbert. Leslie, you said that it could take up to a year to change the regulations. And in the 90s, we had an issue with a contractor, NNI, that specifically only worked on valves and power plants. And they were doing a project at Millstone and nobody had a license. And myself and Cammie were on the heating and cooling board at the time. And we were able to come up with a limited license, and we were able to get that license to all those workers. They took a test and everything within 4 to 6 weeks. So what is different about this? Why is it going to take so much longer? And my other question is, why are we going to send all this language back to the towns to see if the towns are okay with it? Shouldn't we be, well, I'm not on the plumbing board, but shouldn't the plumbing board and the Department of Consumer Protection, I mean, the job is to protect the consumer, not the towns and the contractors. I mean, why are we going to see if they're okay with the language?
First of all, I don't know what happened in the 90s. I can tell you that to create a lower level license, a lower level plumbing license requires a change in regulations. Can't do it without changing the regulations. To change the regulations is a process that can take up to a year. It can be shorter at times, but there are all sorts of deadlines so you have to, after the regulation is drafted, the proposed regulation, it needs to go to the Office of Policy and Management to review. 8 people there review it. Then it has to go to the Office of the Governor for sign off. Then after it gets through that process, we post it. There's 30 days public comment period. that has to be out there. Then it goes to the Attorney General's office and they determine legal sufficiency, and that can take up to 30 days. They have 30 days. Then once all of that is done, then it goes to we submit it to the Regs Review Committee, and it's 45 days. It can take up to 45, add it to an agenda item. So that all has to happen first. And then assuming that there are no issues and the Legislative Commissioner's Office doesn't find any issue, then they will either approve it or they will reject without prejudice for more changes. And that happens often. 60% of the time, all agencies, this is an average with all agencies, 60% of the time, the Regs Review Committee kicks it back to the agency. So that's why I say it can take up to a year to change a regulation.
Richard, do you know how we got that done in the 90s?
Yeah, I'm reading a minute of January 28th, 1999. And there's a section in here. It says, I'll have to email it to you guys. The board would like to, it says in the minutes, the board would like noted that one of the conditions set forth in section 20-332-14A is there must be proof that the availability of qualified S2, S4 licensed individuals does not exist. The granting of a license under this section would cause this board to establish a policy predetermining the amount of on-the-job training related instruction and testing by the Department of Consumer Protection or otherwise recognized by this board. So hang on a minute here. 332-14A. Let me get to that. Hang on. Come on, you bugger. Okay, so, oh, that's right, I remember now. So it's called a special trade. It says any person engaging in a specific area of an occupation covered by Chapter 393 of the General Statutes that is not covered by any license issued under these regulations may request the issuance of a license by submitting any and all evidence which will establish reasonable cause for the issuance of a license to the appropriate board. The issuance of such license is discretionary on the part of the board. So the interpretation back then was we didn't have a specific license for valve repair. So I'll send this to everybody. But
Chris, can I comment on that? I was on the board at the time.
Oh, yes, go ahead, Jim.
At the time, Northeast Utilities owned the Millstone plants, and they were the ones that wanted this contractor to come in to do the valve repair. We had a sufficient number of licenses, which this would cover them, but they claimed that they had the specialty people. Well, Northeast wouldn't test our people to their standard, but they tested the other company to their standard because that's who they wanted there. So just to make it clear, the entire board unanimously voted against the special license. The commissioner at that time, Fleming, overrode the board and said, yes, we are going to have a valve tech license. That's how the license got into effect. And I know that it got done very, very soon. It didn't take a year or anything. And I understand what Leslie's saying. It could take a year. But if you've got everybody in line, the governor's office wants it, the trades want this, everybody that's in line, if they're all told by the governor's office, get this done ASAP, they may have 30 days to do it, but he might say, when that comes in, that's top priority. Take care of it. And it would be done in a short, I'm assuming that that's what had to be done with the BT license. But I know it didn't take anywhere near a year. Like Mike said, I think it was like a month or 6 weeks, and the licenses were, these people were allowed to sit for the license. So that's the history on what happened. Richard, I'm sure you were there, and if I'm wrong, please correct me.
No, that sounds correct.
Okay, anybody else? If not, thank you very much for everybody's comments and concerns. We will be having a special meeting at some point next week. Karen will notify everybody of the date and the time to discuss this further and hopefully push this through so that it can go to the appropriate people for approval.
Does that have to be made in the form of a motion, Chris, to have a special call meeting, or can we do that?
Yes, it does.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to have a special call meeting with the plumbing board for this, for the meter replacement issue. And I'd like to do it at the earliest convenience that Karen can put this together.
Second that motion.
Second by Aaron, motion by Jay. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, a call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So moved. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention to this meeting. Does anybody have anything else to add?
Yeah, Chris,
Yes, Richard?
who's going to be the lead person on the board if you decide, whatever you decide to draft up or however you decide to rule, et cetera, or create wording for the limited license, et cetera, who's going to be the lead person to edit or create a Word document? of
I
what you-
believe,
what
I
people-
believe it's going to be Chuck. I'll find out from Chuck later. Unfortunately, he's not here today because of Sandy Valerie's funeral. So I'll discuss it with him, but you'll be hearing something from Chuck on it
Okay.
as the chairman. Anything else? Any other good and welfare?
I'll be sending everyone an email today about the date for the meeting next week.
Thank you, Karen.
All right. Thanks, Karen.
Need a motion to adjourn.
Make the
Make a
motion.
motion.
All
Second.
right, second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate it. Everybody have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. You too.